مستغربين يعني إن علاقة زي دي ممكن تستمر في الخفاء، إنما لما طلعت للعلن دي أصبحت مرحلة خطيرة، مرحلة حساسة بالنسبة للعائلة المالكة والأثورتي.
And he made very quickly allegations against MI6, which is the intelligence agency that operates abroad but based in London, and the Duke of Edinburgh, who of course was married to the Queen.
They were kind of making up for the fact that they had done so much to vilify her while she was alive, done so much to destroy her. And of course, the media was deeply implicated in her death.
احنا عارفين ان اولاد العائلات الغنية جدا بتبقى النشأة بتاعتهم مرفهة، بيبقى لهم مجتمع معين، والابهات ما بيحاولوش ان هم يخلوا اولادهم سيريس مع البيزنس مع الشغل، بل بيحاولوا ان هم يدوهم اكتر مما هم بيدوهم. فعلاقاته قبل ديانا كان واضحة، بس ما كانتش على الضوء لأنه ما كانش حد يعرفه طبعا. إنما دودي اتعرف بعد علاقته بديانا، ابتدت الجرائد تنشر عن علاقاته السابقة وعن حياته السابقة، فطبعا كان واضح الحياة اللي هو بيعيشها. ويمكن هو لقى في علاقته مع ديانا إن دي بقى حاجة أكبر من أي حاجة حصلت في الماضي.
It's never seemed very interesting to me because the facts seem fairly clear-cut. People want to find some deeper reason for things. They want to find a deeper reason or a conspiracy for why something terrible might have happened, something unusual might have happened, and sometimes there is a banal and sad explanation for why things happen that don't involve deep state conspiracy theories.
يعني احنا عاصرنا المأساة دي من بدايتها لنهايتها وتابعناها، وكنا مستغربين او متعجبين ازاي الاستاذ محمد الفايد مقتنع باللي بيحصل وما ادركش خطورة اللعب مع الكبار.
I witnessed the wedding, I witnessed the divorce, and finally I witnessed her tragic end in Paris and the funeral that followed that. So I've watched that, her life unfold and end so tragically. I've also seen the profound impact she had on the British royal family, and I think her legacy continues to this day. It remains awkward for King Charles III, as he is now, that he did have an affair whilst he was married to Diana, and there are a lot of people in this country and around the world who will not forgive him for that. I think the basic facts surrounding her death are pretty clear. They were in the Ritz Hotel in Paris, herself and her boyfriend at the time, Dodi Al-Fayed, and they wanted to escape the paparazzi who had discovered that they were in the hotel. And so, with their bodyguard and driver, they came to a plan to go out the back entrance of the Ritz and drive off at speed to shake off the paparazzi. What happened, of course, was that the driver, Paul Henry, was intoxicated. He had been drinking, he had been taking prescription drugs, and they impaired his ability to drive at speed. And he drove erratically and at great speed, and the car tragically in the tunnel hit the concrete, and that brought very abruptly her life and that of Dodi's and his own to end. So I think those are the basic facts.
Well, she was everyone's friend, and she helped poor, she helped everyone, a very exceptional person.
It's quite embarrassing because you get people from all over the world flying in to London, Princess of Wales's home, the capital, and they don't know where to go. They end up at the Kensington Palace gates and saying, well, what do we do? And you have to say, well, this is it, I'm afraid. This is our memorial to this woman who touched so many people. So it's pretty pathetic, really, isn't it?
It's purely coincidental, but I suppose that most of the people who come here think that somehow miraculously the morning of the crash, the candle in the wind appeared over the site where she died.
المجتمع كله شايف ان دي مش مجرد حادثة، انما لما في عمل زي كده بيتم، اللي بيقوموا بالعمل دون ما هماش تلامذة، دول ناس متخصصين، ناس حرفيين، ناس ما يتركوش وراهم اي اثر لاي شيء. الاثنين اثر الوحيدين اللي فضلوا من هذا الحادث، الحارس اللي هو ما اتكلمش حتى بعد ما اتعملت له كل العمليات وخرج للحياة، ما اتكلمش. الحادث الثاني اللي هو بتاع العربية اللي كانت معاهم في النفق، وفي النهاية صاحب العربية دون لقوا العربية على شاطئ في فرنسا والراجل مقتول.
Some of the things that Mohammed Al-Fayed was saying in the years after Dodi's death were completely outrageous and unacceptable, where he impugned Prince Philip, the Queen's husband, in the death of Diana and Dodi with no evidence. And he was only able to say that because in the court of law in the UK, you cannot be sued for anything that you say. And that is why he was able to make such lurid allegations about Prince Philip without any kind of legal consequences.
I'm hoping for justice. As a father who lost his son and fighting for 10 years, at last we're gonna have a jury from ordinary people, and I hope to reach the decision which I believe that my son and Princess Diana have been murdered by the royal family, okay?
لما تتتبع تفاصيل القضية هتلاحظ ان والد دودي زي ما يكون بينام ويصحى، او زي ما يكون بياخد فترات ويرجع تاني للقضية، ودي متوقعة لان دي مؤلمة جدا لأب ان هو يفقد ابنه في سن زي ده بالتهيؤات والتخيلات اللي هو متخيلة انها تحصل في المستقبل. فالصدمة دي يعني بترجعه للأحداث تاني كل ما يفتكرها.
I am certain what happened to them. I know they've been murdered, and I'm sure the jury of ordinary people will confirm all my doubts for the last 10 years, which I've been fighting to find justice for my son and Princess Diana.
Do you seriously believe you'll find justice
Definitely.
this time?
I hope so. I'm always hoping to God that to find the murderer, the gangster who have taken a life of two innocent people so early. And I'm not gonna rest until I see the justice, and I hope by ordinary jury I get the verdict which all the nation are looking forward for. Thank you very much.
Okay,
thank you very much.
With my background, I of course know the intelligence agencies in this country very well, and I understand clearly how they are controlled, the ministerial involvement in that accountability for their actions. So I find it inconceivable that MI6 or MI5 were in any way involved in some conspiracy plot to have Diana removed. Diana was a problem for the royal family. She was increasingly becoming something of an embarrassment, and that is why some people might come to the view that maybe the British authorities wanted to remove her.
في النفق اللي حدث فيه الحادث، المصورين اللي كانوا متابعين العربيات كانوا بيقولوا ان هم السبب في الفلاشات بتاعتهم، انما ده طبعا لا يمكن يكون السبب. قالوا ان السواق كان مخمور. طبعا السواق نجح ان هو يسوق العربية ويخرج بها سالما، والحادثة حصلت لما الناس عملوا تشيس للعربية. العربية الفيات اللي هي كانت الشاهد ورا العربية بتاعت دودي، اللي هي كانت الوحيدة اللي فيها هو اللي هيبقى شاهد على الحادثة وإيه اللي حصل. دي العربية اللي لقوها على الشاطئ وصاحبها مقتول. فطبعا ده كان آخر أثر ممكن أي حد يتتبعه. الأثر الوحيد الثاني البودي جارد اللي هو ممنوع من الكلام، حتى متهيألي لو طلبوه بأمر محكمة للشهادة هيكون في سبب إن هو هيتمنع من الشهادة.
J'estime qu'il a été injustement sali. On le traite de chauffeur alcoolique, alors que la vie d'Henri Paul, c'était pas ça. C'était un garçon très brillant, qui avait 2 prix de conservatoire de piano, qui était pilote d'avion aux instruments. Donc j'avais toute confiance en lui pour décoller la nuit à 250 km/h, y compris sous la pluie et dans le vent, pour partir en Bretagne, quand il louait des avions. Donc, si vous voulez, il y a un décalage en ce que... J'essaye de rattraper ce décalage en ce que les gens pensent, le chauffeur ivre, et la vie d'un homme qui n'était pas du tout celui que les gens peuvent s'imaginer. Le choc était déjà mortel à 80. Quand vous rentrez déjà dans un mur à 80 km/h, donc moi la vitesse, je n'y crois pas. Et donc, y compris l'alcool, je l'ai déjà vu boire, je ne crois pas à l'alcool comme cause de l'accident. Vol heure par heure, hein, c'est pour ça qu'il y a beaucoup, c'est des petits vols de 55 minutes.
Mohammed Al-Fayed was determined to get the truth, and so he exhausted every legal angle he possibly could. So if one inquiry did not come up with the answer he was hoping for, he pursued another one. And he came up with evidence from people who are now working for him, who'd previously worked in the royal household, gathering information from all over to create this narrative that he was trying to say had happened. He included, for example, saying that Diana was actually pregnant, and that Dodi and Diana were planning to set up home and have a child. So that led to an examination of the blood in the car to see whether that gave a clue to whether Diana was indeed pregnant, and also led to further examination of the medical records, and there was no evidence to suggest that she was pregnant. But all of this was taking a great deal of time, and the legal team working for Mohammed Al-Fayed turned every single stone over to uncover what they were hoping to find. From Charles, I remember being deeply shocked by that. So when it came to her death, that was very, very shocking. People were very, very sad. The royal family struggled to cope with it. They were caught in their own protocol, because Diana was not then a member of the family, and the royal family were up in Scotland at the time, and they didn't know how to react. The British public, in a very un-British way, flooded into London, crowded around Buckingham Palace, brought flowers and gifts and cards, and there's a huge amount of media exposure, and Prime Minister Tony Blair is on record as having phoned Her Majesty the Queen and said, you must now come to London. The people need you. They don't understand why you're not doing this and why the flag over Buckingham Palace is not at half-mast and so on. So deeply, deeply shocking. Because she was a beautiful woman, she captured people's hearts, and she died a young woman. And it was tragic, and people really felt that. And so there was massive public output. And I said that 750 million people watched her wedding, 2.5 billion watched her funeral. It had a huge impact. And let me say this, I think it still continues to this day. Here we are, 25 years after her tragic death, we are still talking about her. And you'll notice that King Charles III is married to the Queen Consort. She is not the Queen, she is the Queen Consort. That is because the royal family felt that Camilla would not be accepted by the British public as the Queen. So they changed the title. That is a direct result of Diana's legacy.
The British media was completely hysterical at the time of Diana's death, but it was also incredibly hypocritical because they had hounded her remorselessly. They had kind of plastered intimate details of her life on all front pages, and suddenly they had to change their tone and adapt to what the public was now feeling, which was this complete hysteria about Diana's death. And so all of the deeply ruthless, negative coverage that they had been kind of adopting over Diana, they had to have a 180-degree turn immediately and somehow paint Diana as a saint. Now, Diana wasn't a saint, she was a human being with flaws. She didn't deserve to be hounded by the paparazzi while she was alive, and she didn't deserve to be elevated to the position of the Virgin Mary after she died. So the British media went from one extreme to the other, with the British public as well. Now, obviously Diana was an extremely interesting person, a remarkable person who did incredible things in the field of charity work. She kind of touched millions of lives, particularly her work with HIV/AIDS patients was exemplary. But she wasn't a saint.
لما اشترى هارولدز، ودي كان زي ما بقول الحدث بقى اللي كلنا كنا فخورين، يعني مصري حقق هذا الحلم اللي كان فيه اعتراض بريطاني على ان اجنبي يشتري هارولدز. لو انت استرجعت الاحداث تلاقي كل النجوم الكبار بما فيهم مايكل جاكسون مثلا كان يروح بالليل يفتح المتجر مخصوص برايفت له عشان يشتري حاجاته. مش مايكل جاكسون بس، والعائله الملكه لما كانت بتيجي تشتري حاجاتها كان بيتفتح مخصوص ليهم. فدي حاجات خاصه طبعا الناس عارفاها، يمكن الناس ما تعرفهاش، انما المتجر ده له علامه مميزه، له شيء خاص. كان ده بدايه علاقاته مع الاسره المالكه ومع شخصيات تانية كبيره جدا.
No, there was very little interaction between the royal family and the Fayeds, and I don't think there was much interaction before Dodi and Diana got together. And once they were, by the time they were a couple, the royal family were very keen to distance themselves from Diana. They had to manage the fact that William and Harry, of course, it was their mother, but they changed her title. She was no longer the Princess of Wales. She was Diana, Princess of Wales. It's very subtle, but it basically meant you are no longer part of the royal family. So the Prince of Wales, Charles, was trying to get on with his royal duties and trying to distance himself from Diana as much as he possibly could. because he recognised that she was getting all the good headlines and he was getting all the bad headlines, and that was not good for the future of the monarchy.
دايما الإنسان بيبقى مش شايف قدامه كويس، الأحداث بتغريه أو بتخليه إن هو فكره يبقى بعيد عن الواقع، بعيد عن الحقيقة، أو تهيئه للمستقبل العظيم المنتظر الحادث دون اللي كنا عارفين إن هو لا يمكن يحصل. ففي تخيلات بتبقى عند الإنسان بتخليه ما يشوفش كويس، ما يشوفش ايه الواقع اللي ممكن يحصل. فدي كانت حقيقة لم يلمسها الأستاذ محمد الفايد أو ابنه.
What we need to understand by the Al-Fayed family is they were hugely influential in British society. He was a very, very wealthy man, and he owned Harrods. I mean, Harrods is the iconic shop in Knightsbridge in the centre of London, and it was owned by an Egyptian. And for a long time, he was not accepted into British society. He had problems getting a British passport. And I think he was deeply resentful about that because he had brought so much money to London. I think it's unlikely, given the amount of investigations carried out over that 4-year period, 2004 to 2008, that any new information will appear. Prince Harry is keen to promote his book, and so he is suggesting there will be things in there about his mother, but I think there may be some personal things we don't know, but I think anything relating to her death, I would be amazed if anything new came out. And finally, in 2008, that inquiry concluded in the same way that the French authorities had concluded. It was, in the end, unlawful killing caused by the actions of the driver of the car that night. And interestingly, and I have great credit to him, despite the fact he was still grieving for the loss of his son, Mohammed Al-Fayed then said, enough is enough. I do not want to involve Prince William and Prince Harry anymore, and he ended any further legal questions about the death of his son.